Hey, it's Conrad Thompson, and you're listening to My World. And of course, we couldn't do it without the Hall of Famer himself, the greatest professional wrestler of all time, your friend and mine, Double J, Jeff Jarrett. Jeff, how are you, man?
Oh, God, I always chuckle when you go into that nonsense. But, man, I'm running on adrenaline. What a weekend, and I'm sure you're going to pepper me with all kinds of questions today. I'll just be your young boy. I'll just sit under your I'm just ready. But, man, all kidding aside, got in from Mexico City yesterday, packing, and we're about to head to the big one, my man. Head across the pond. Looking forward to Cardiff. But, yeah, me and the Queen are going to be getting on the big bird here in a few hours and heading over, and Dynamite Wednesday in Cardiff. And then, of course, the big one on Sunday at Wembley Stadium. Old babysitter's got a few shows over there. Should be loading out late Tuesday night. So, but no, Connie, all good. Football season is upon us. Capital City Clash, man, oh man, there's a buzz in that town. I got to tip my cap to Big Ben. But anyway, Conrad, how are you doing, pal? How's the beach treating you?
Well, I'm alive, and I'm glad to say that I managed to stay up for every minute of TripleMania this past weekend. And what a show it was. You start to see more and more of the American influence. You're out there doing your best to make friends. You brought a whole pack of tortillas with yourself. That's always popular in Mexico City. And you found yourself, once again, on the A side. Satnam Singh has now tasted championship gold in professional wrestling, teaming with Raj, the former Jinder Mahal from WWE, getting his first taste of international gold post WWE. They are now, I think they've got to be the first AAA tag team champions of Indian descent. No?
Boy, we're going to have to get into the research, and I'm sure we have some great My World listeners as I'm looking at the photos, and I'm going to kind of get into a heartwarming moment in a minute. But as Raj was doing a promo, and you know, they had I won't call it a press conference, but they had quite a bit of media, and when you kind of come through the curtain, you kind of do your different press stops. But Raj, I can't think of. I believe they would have to be the first on a real national stage, the first Punjabi tag team champions, if you will. It's a pretty cool deal. They are from about 3 hours apart. Raj is born and raised in Canada, but his family is all from the same state as Satnam is. So they made history in a lot of ways, and the emotion, Conrad, I can remember. And I think the other day, I think it was Marvin, somebody we were talking in the dressing room. The first title I won, the Mid-America title, it was, man, that belt was embarrassing. And Conrad, I don't even think if somebody paid you money, you would have taken that belt or gone, let alone. But anyway, your first championship, it's always big. He'll always remember it. But to win it on that stage at TripleMania 32 with a partner that their first time teaming, but you know we're going over in the car service in the shuttle, and to hear those two guys and they're talking in their native language, and a chuckle here and a chuckle there, and I just looked at Karen. I said, because that's the first time I've been around Satnam that. He's speaking in his native language, and you could just kind of tell by the energy and all that. So it was a big night going into it. Got in there on Friday night, show on Saturday. And yeah, they came out tag team gold. And when Satnam, I'll just say this, when the news was delivered and then the execution of the match and coming through the curtain, and then I think the moment hit him backstage. I called him. I'm going to tell on him. He had the belt backstage. Karen got on me. She's like, be nice. But I kind of gave him a hard time. But he was kind of sinking it all in. And he did his, I'll call it Google search. And he saw the former champions of AAA tag team champions. And it just put a big smile on his face. So huge milestone. Gigantic. If you look at his Instagram page and kind of look at the congrats and the comments, and it's a big deal. It was a huge night in TripleMania, all kinds of things we can talk about. But for Satnam Singh to win his first ever championship with a partner who is a brother from his country, and we'll call him Raj, but gender and just his stats at WWE and notoriety and just everything that went with it. It was really, really, really a special night, incredibly special moment for Satnam, and I am super glad that I was a part of it, got to witness it. And Satnam has seen the tortilla before. He's amazed at it. I'll just say that. Oh boy,
it's amazing to think that Satnam Singh and Raj are now the AAA Tag Team Champions, and I know that a lot of our listeners maybe don't keep up with AAA week in, week out, but let's not forget these are the same titles that not that long ago were held by the Lucha Bros, Ray Phoenix and Pentagon. These are the same AAA titles that were held and defended on American television with FTR and the Young Bucks. And now it's Team India. Raj and Satnam Singh are the AAA champions. We also saw a new cruiserweight champion crowned over the weekend, Matt Riddle. So yet another piece of American influence on the AAA program. And then I guess what we would call the co-main event, the Mega Championship. We saw the former Alberto Del Rio go ahead and capture the title from the former Dolph Ziggler, Nick Nemeth. I didn't see him losing, but he did. Alberto is now the champion, and well, there's some issues out there now about what does this mean for Latin Lover, who got into a bit of an issue with Alberto, and here comes Conan to make the save, or so we thought. But Dorian was revealed as the Eye, and business is about to pick up in AAA. But the thing that sort of had me scratching my head was, what the hell's not Justin Hawk Bradshaw, John Layfield doing in Mexico? Like, this is a guy who 20 years ago was making a living dumping on Mexicans and Hispanic people and people at the border. And now here he is, an American south of the border in a Lucha Libre promotion. I thought he was a WWE guy. What in the world's going on here, Jeff?
Oh, Connie, where do I even start? Because I did not miss any of the moments. I don't want to say I stopped and smelled the roses. And look, AAA or Lucha Libre, it's not for everybody. I get that. There's some American wrestling fans or maybe Japanese wrestling fans that are like, I don't understand this or I don't understand that. But when you take a step back and look at 30,000 point viewpoint of the entire night, you just kind of ran through the Matt Riddle situation. It wasn't that long ago that he was pulling numbers in on Monday Night Raw.
Yeah.
I'll call him as a heavyweight with RK Bro and all that. And he goes down there, and Commander and I think Laredo Kid, they had a three-way. And again, I'm one of those guys I like to hear, and especially on this night, just kind of because of the cadence, and we got to get into the Karen and the Lucha Mask and all that. But I like to hear live reactions, not just, try to watch it because we were watching it on a screen backstage. But that three-way tore the house down, Conrad. I didn't really want to miss sight of that. And then we got to get to the Vampiro. But I
want to talk about Vampiro. But the thing that scratched my head, like I couldn't watch the show and not feel a WWE influence. I mean, for better or worse, I'm always going to associate you with WWE. I'm always going to associate Satnam with AEW. I'm always going to associate the former Jinder Mahal, the former Matt Riddle, and the former JBL, the former Nick Nemeth. I mean, there was such a heavy American influence. And I know that they're launching television here in the States, and so they do have some penetration television-wise. But JBL, man, that's a major curveball.
It was huge. And, a buddy of mine in Mexico, it is like when they see JBL, and this is this is kind of what resonated with the Lucha Libre history. A lot of folks in Mexico, when they see JBL, they think of Eddie Guerrero. That kind of legendary feud here that man, it had everything from top to bottom. And trying to put it all in, because from top to bottom, I don't want to say they threw curveballs. That's not the right thing. But the overall presence, and that's why my brains are kind of spinning. You talked about the American influence. I really thought, I'll call it the international or the Americans, because we didn't even get into the Royal Rumble style match they had, and they had a Japanese legend and all kinds of things. But the JBL kind of integration and what he stood for, the tall Texan American and all that, was, I thought it just integrated. And maybe I'm biased. That's why I'm saying, Conrad, you're looking at it like, man, American influence. I thought all this was integrated, and it was fantastic lucha libre presentation, which I get is not for everybody, especially the American, maybe independent wrestling fan. And I totally understand that. But man, what a presence from top to bottom of the card. It's kind of what I'm saying.
I think American independent fans would absolutely love it. And I challenge anybody who says they don't get lucha, go to a show. It's one thing to see it on TV. It's another to be in the crowd and feel it. It's a different crowd than what I see at American wrestling shows. And maybe there was nothing more evident about how different it was than a celebration for Vampiro. Vampiro, I suppose, is doing, I guess it's a farewell tour. It's a retirement tour of sorts. And so from my understanding, he's going to hit a few different promotions. But I don't know for sure. Do you believe that was the last Vampiro match in AAA, at least for now?
Yes.
Okay.
I mean, look, I'm gonna say everything. But I do. I think. Well, Conrad, look, you're gonna take this blip and gonna run it in about 6 months when he does another retirement tour. But I do, and I think the way it's laid out over this entire year, and they've done big box office, so that's what would make me say, is it his last match? I do. I think what a send off. He had an incredible send off in Monterrey, obviously a major market, Tijuana up north in Mexico. He had a send off there, but I think to bring it back home and the way everything was laid out and the story of the match, folks, we'll get into it here, Conrad. Before we do that, when you watched it, obviously you didn't know what to expect. Did you understand kind of the overall arching storyline, if you will, of the match?
Yeah, it felt like it was, and boy, I'm not meaning to diminish it. It's just the best example I can give. It felt like almost like a Ghost of Christmas Past type story, where here's all these people through the history of Vampiro's career who are now showing up for one last final battle. And, that was the interpretation I got from not only me piecing together what I could, but they had a pretty good announce crew in Larry Dallas and our buddy. I'm a big fan of Dabrowski as like the main voice, and I think he's underrated. But he did a good job, I feel like, carrying the explanation. So even if you don't watch AAA on a week in, week out basis, you could watch that match and really understand. And to make an American parallel, the Vampiro character had like this, I don't know, darker, more occult, goth feel. I'm not going to, I know when I make this comparison, people will throw up their hands, but it's almost like a AAA version of an Undertaker influence style character. And so when we had all these people from his past and almost like a funeral display, I thought it was really, really well done for what it was. You're looking for a spectacle more so than a match. I mean, if you're looking for a match, maybe that wasn't it. But how about a La Parka appearance? Like, I didn't see that coming.
The son of La Parka.
Yes.
And look, me and Dorian go back years and years and years. And that, Conrad, you said the word. I went up to him. He said, "What did you think of that?" And because I was involved in it twice, and the way it was advertised was Vamp. And the day he went in there and the video packages, my God, what a young Vamp. But he since the day he arrived, he was the Canadian vampire, and just kind of the progression of the character. And people that listen to this may or may not be able to relate it to, like you said, an Undertaker. But through the years, but he had all these different rivalries. I mean, Sin Caras, Chessman, and on and on and on. But the match was a casket match with unknown opponents. And so the people didn't know what to expect. And me and Sam Adonis jumped in from the beginning, and the people by design and the people, they lit up. And man, to me, it was off to the races. And like you said, La Parka laying in the casket, and to me, there was pop after pop after pop, and surprise after surprise after surprise. And, El Macias, Ricky Banderas, Puerto Rican fans. It was just, I thought it was, it's not for everybody, but it was a spectacle train wreck that was highly, highly entertaining. And to me, a hell of a send-off for Vamp.
Yeah, it was an incredible spectacle. And with the fire at the end, again, you don't have to be a huge lucha fan and understand all the history to understand, hey, this was one of their marquee characters and names during a previous boom. So think about one of your top stars from the Attitude Era having his last match. That's a big doggone deal. And then, of course, we saw the psychosis that we all saw on WCW Monday Nitro and ECW. He was honored and put into the AAA Hall of Fame. And then in the main event, a crazy reverse cage match of sorts. Or maybe it's not. I don't know. But it had a dome on it, and the last one out lost, and it was hair versus mask. And the new psychosis, the guy who's picked up where Nicho left off, he was unmasked. Anytime somebody loses their mask in Lucha Libre, it's a big doggone deal. What'd you think of that spectacle to close the show on Saturday night, Jeff?
For any TNA fan, they know I'm a huge fan of the Thunderdome. That's what we called it in TNA.
Yes.
I saw this match years ago. I think they called it the Dome of Death. I think maybe in the advertisements this go around. But as you kind of look back on, this was TripleMania 32, and me and Nietzsche, Karen got to kind of see firsthand. I don't know that Karen's ever met Nietzsche or whatever, but when we saw each other, it was in the lobby Friday night at, I don't know, midnight, and I gave him a big hug and all this. And we traveled together the WCW days. And then my early days in AAA, he is one of those guys that have truly, to me, have been a pillar. And we haven't touched on this, but this will give, I believe, the My World listeners kind of the reality of the situation. None other than Rey Mysterio sent in a video, and in Spanish, obviously, but I caught bits and pieces. But the high praise and the friendship and the camaraderie, they go back. They're OGs. They're day oneers together, and the respect that Rey showed him and the crowd. And it's, I don't throw this term around too lightly, but Psychosis, a true legend of TripleMania lore. Of AAA lore. I'm glad to see he got his flowers and just how it tied in. And it was a special night. Just a truly, truly special night when you kind of look back, and we've touched on so many things. The Queen in disguise. We hadn't touched on that, and that was the first match of the night. There she is, sitting at front row at ringside, and Fabi Apache, who had been a thorn in my side in Monterey at TripleMania earlier this year, and TripleMania Tijuana, she was a thorn in my side, and at another TV taping. And so the Queen came down in disguise on the front row. Conrad, she barreled over the barricade and cost Fabi the match, and that's how the show got started. So, but it's just a cool night to me, top to bottom. So many different moving parts, but it was cool. Very, very cool.
Do you have any idea how many people were in the building there in Mexico City?
I think over 14.8.
Wow. It's a big time show.
Well, and not that long ago, WWE was in the building, and I believe they had around that size. I don't want to, somebody's going to say, oh no, they had 1,000 more. I don't know.
Whatever. It was close.
It's close. Yes. Yeah. So, and then CMLL obviously ran they ran. So Mexico City's a big city, but it is it's such, man, if you're a wrestling fan and you really want to check off a bucket list, you need to go see in person a Lucha Libre show because it's just a different feel, a different vibe. And a show like TripleMania with high production values and the stage and the presence and, the founder of AAA, Antonio Pena, passed away several years ago, and his sister Maricela took over the business, and her husband now he has passed away, but Dorian is running the show. But it's a family run business with 30 something years of history, and it was really cool to be a part of it. I don't know how many I've been a part of it, but I started working for those guys 20 years ago. The announcer came up to me and was kind of reading off some stats. It was cool for me to be a part of it, and certainly grateful to be an active part of it. So big night.
A heck of a show, big time opportunity, and hope everybody will check it out and support it. And if you want some more context, we actually recapped the whole show last night with Sam Adonis for a new series we have over at adfreeshows.com called Learning Lucha. He gave us some insight into some of the more memorable moments in TripleMania history and added some context to the storylines that we saw last night and what to expect. We even had a conversation about where the Lucha Bros are in Lucha Libre history. Like, what is their status to the Mexican wrestling community? We even asked about WWE and how they're perceived by the Mexican wrestling fans. Get all this and more at adfreeshows.com. It turns out there's more than 100,000 hours worth of bonus content there. You heard me right. 100,000 hours of bonus content, including live interactive Q&As with all of my co-hosts, watch-alongs you can't find anywhere else for some of the biggest moments in wrestling history with the stars who made that magic, plus all of the different StarCast stage shows. So the first time we heard from CM Punk in 7 years, that was at StarCast, and we've got that interview alongside exclusive series you can't get anywhere else, like Learning Lucha with Sam Adonis, like Tully Vision with Tully Blanchard, like Monday Mailbag with Mike Chioda or Nick Patrick. How about the book with David Crockett? We actually go through David's brother's red books. So Jim Crockett Jr., the excellent penmanship of J.J. Dillon, the genius booking mind of Dusty Rhodes. We talk about the good, the bad, and the ugly there with David. And it's always a bunch of laughs anytime Cassio Kid gets together with the Godfather. Podding ain't easy. And we started up pretty big last month with Lex Luger talking about his time on the Lex Express. I don't think Bruce Pritchard was too happy with that interview, but all of this is available now at adfreeshows.com. Encourage you to check it out. We've got a live studio audience here with us today as a part of that effort. And we got a question from Aaron Sheen I want to ask you about, Jeff. Do you think there's a big enough market in Mexico for AEW? And how would AEW do if they ran Mexico? You talked about WWE running down there, but could you see a AEW show south of the border?
Without question. And here is what is, I think, lost so much of, and I guess kind of the firsthand experience I have is just because I've been going down there for 20 years. Me and Karen, by the way, we celebrate our 14th coming up this week, 14th anniversary. So, can give me the big congrats, Silva. I know you're back there in the studio clapping. But anyhow, is that in Mexico, wrestling is a part of the culture in so many ways. And so Mexico City, that was another thing that, Karen didn't realize. I said, I think the greater area, it's like 21 million people or something along those lines. Like that's the size of Mumbai. I mean, there is a enormous population, but you can get all the different small towns, and I don't want to call Monterey a small town, but wrestling's all over the country and has been for multiple generations. So the short answer is it's not like you're bringing professional wrestling to a brand new market. And those actually still exist. I mean, like the country of India, and I could go on a few others. South Africa, they got a little bit here and there, but different countries around the world, it's not a part of the culture. It's a part of the culture in Mexico. And the AEW I'll call it style of wrestling, is very, very applicable to the market in so many ways. Because you kind of look at, you could name any one of, I don't know, lots of AEW stars that have bits of lucha in their repertoire. And so you've got stars that are big business and have done big business. Jericho, in a lot of ways, in his early days, learned a ton down there. And there, I could go on and on and on, but the shorter answer is absolutely yes. I'm looking forward to hopefully being a part of making that all come together. But I would say we're not too far off in heading in that direction in seeing AEW in the market.
I want to ask you a little bit about, what's next for AAA, but I think, we probably all need to stay tuned, because with them now having a television presence in America and this new American influence, I'm really excited to see what's next for them. And I have to admit, I don't really understand all of the wrestling politics down there about AAA and CMLL and where AEW fits in and all that stuff. But thankfully, Sam Adonis understands this better than I do. So check it out. Our conversation that happens every month at adfreeshows.com. Something I have been paying attention to. You talked about big business, and it feels like somebody has some big business finally with Big Ben Bishop. It's finally happening. He ran a one-man social media campaign that apparently got your attention, because you came on this very program and you told us that, hey, no matter what you think is happening at shoesbaseball.com, Big Ben Bishop is not booked. But I saw a graphic that says he's coming. What's happening here, Jeff?
Conrad, I guess I'm a softie. My partner, Jamie Toole, knows his baseball, but he is born and raised in South Carolina, had multiple jobs all over the country running baseball teams, but he's a wrestling fan. And for whatever reason, Mr. Bishop struck an emotional chord. That's something that I hate to say it, almost preach at times. Create emotional engagement. And you got to get into it and be persistent and all that. Jamie asked me, just like you, he's like, hey, man, this Bishop character, he's kind of campaigning. I said, nice guy, good dude, out of Atlanta. I don't see me buying a plane ticket or us investing in a plane ticket to get him up there. And he said, well, he's certainly campaigning. I said, oh, I'm well aware. And he stayed persistent. Conrad, you seen his videos he did?
They were so good, dude. The Shindy promoter, I mean, he's made that a thing now for me. I love it.
So, look, I've got a couple of different day jobs, but the Capital City Clash, the talent, we gave it to the Shoes Baseball social media team and Jamie and his team and all that. And they kind of, I guess you could say, started to have fun with it, because they were kind of seeing, I don't want to call it the numbers, but yeah, just kind of the engagement on Facebook, on Instagram. They could see Twitter and Ben and just hammering. And they kind of teed up Sotnam real good. And Brother Ben bid it. He just took the bite, hook, line, and sinker, like big time. And I don't know if you saw it, but he was not happy when Sotnam was picked, because we teased it. 7-footer former basketball player, yes. Which Ben is a 7-footer former basketball player, but he bid it. And then, so we do have one more talent announcement, but we did. We caved, or Jamie said, hey man, he's worked his ass off. Let's throw him the proverbial bone. But I've got something up my sleeve for old Ben yet. But we have one or two more talent announcements, but it's shaped up fantastic. The independent promotion Dreamwave and a few others have really leaned in hard. And of course, we've got Colt Cabana and Jay Lethal and Satnam Singh and NWA, multiple. We got obviously the heavyweight champion. We've got the junior heavyweight champion. We got the women's champion from NWA. And of course, we got my old man, EY, Eric Young, going to be in the house. It is a really, I believe, a stacked card. So the match announcements are going to be kind of start being rolled out in early September. But Saturday, September 21st, Capital City Clash, the first ever heads into Robert and Roberts Stadium, and the show will kick off with the Robert and Roberts Rumble. So those names to be announced as well.
Shoesbaseball.com. Tickets start at just $20. It's going to be a lot of fun. You don't want to miss it. Speaking of a lot of fun.
Hey, before I forget, I got a lot going on today. Mr. Silva, will you send that nice graphic to Shoes Baseball?
Yeah, Silva's making us look good here on the show.
My goodness.
Hey, let's talk a little bit about what you got coming up. You just mentioned it sort of in passing. Hey, and the Queen and I celebrate an anniversary. As I understand it, your anniversary is on Wednesday, the 21st. So as folks are listening to this tomorrow, that happens to be the same day that AEW is presenting Dynamite from Cardiff. Am I picking up what you're putting down, that the Queen may have gotten you the best anniversary present of all time, and you're going to give Hangman Adam Page a guitar necklace this Wednesday?
Oh man, I don't know. Johnny, things are heating up, buddy. They really are. We'll see. I don't know what the Queen's got. I don't know what AEW's got in store, but I know we're all headed over there. Man, God, time is flying. I cannot believe we're in the third week of August. We've got, I don't know, Conrad.
Here's what's been announced so far on that show. For the AEW Continental Championship, it's Okada and Claudio Castagnoli. MJF and Will Ospreay are going to go face to face. Timeless Tony Storm is going to be taking on Saraya for the AEW Women's World Championship. The Learning Tree, Chris Jericho, is going to be in there with the Dynamite Kid, Tommy Billington. And we've got something called the Wild Card in Cardiff. It's to determine the final spot in the AEW World Trios Championship London ladder match that's going to happen at All In. But I got to think there's a millennial cowboy running around who needs a new necklace.
Well, if that prick Tom Campbell has anything if he has a vote in it, Johnny, don't you think? I think he'd be given a big yes for that guitar necklace.
I mean, I think a lot of people would sign up for that. We, of course, we're just days away from a really big show. I think if anything, I think we may have actually taken this for granted a little bit. Last year's Wembley card felt like a happening. There was so much anticipation, and I wonder. I even said at the time, I wonder how much of this is not necessarily the anticipation for the card, but just for AEW to reach this milestone, to be in a big stadium show like this. I think people were curious about what the set would look like, what the presentation would look like, just what AEW in a stadium looked like. Now we know now. And I think, I don't know, maybe the curiosity factor isn't there for me as much, but I do think the card I enjoy better than last year's, just as a wrestling fan.
Yep.
And you're going to have like 50,000 fans there. And I'm sure there's going to be some negative person somewhere who says, oh, well, last year, guys, how many wrestling promotions in the history of ever have had 50,000 customers? That's a crazy number, is it not, Jeff?
So I've had this running thought, and these are the kind of moments, Conrad, that I wish I could kind of jump out of this seat and let my old man, old Jeff Jarrett, sit down. And I would say, Conrad, ask him this question, because I never understood his psychology. He was never, ever, I'll call it, now this is counterproductive, and I'm not saying I agree with it, but I understand the psychology. And I know it's a different generation, and I know, but I'm just kind of going to share the inside baseball of Jeff Jarrett's mindset and kind of why. And then I'll extrapolate out of it. He was never a big fan of, and I'll say this, not the big show. He wanted a big show. If you go back generations in promoters, every Wednesday night or every Thursday night, greatest card ever signed. He kind of got as a joke and repetitive. But my old man was not the biggest fan of the big show, because by design, it's impossible to follow. And you promote it that way. The biggest card ever signed. I mean, for years and years and years, Mania happened, and then the international tours were set up because the live event business and everything that goes with it. I mean, you can look at TV ratings after Mania, down, after the big show, down, after this, after that, because everything's relative. There's a benchmark and blah, 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 blah. Walking from Wembley, because our hotel is just right around the corner last year. But it was me, Karen, and something like that. I said, it's impossible to follow. Next year is, I mean, just like you can't top that. I mean, you just can't, because you can spend a fortune and upgrade sets, and you can maybe even bring in a boatload of talent, or you can bring in all kinds of influencers and celebrities. Nothing follows the first. And so you hit it. 50,000 fans is last year, Conrad, when Wembley was announced, people literally projected, man, if they can get to 30 or 35, that's going to be fantastic. That I heard those words externally and internally. I did. And so 50,000 fans,
I just don't understand how anybody could slant that to be negative. Like
WWE SummerSlam, how many they have? Just to give, we're not just talking
roughly 50,000. Okay,
and Mania's number 1. I think Rumble's 2. So WWE's third biggest show did 50,000 fans. What I'm saying is the business, we just did 14, 15 in Mexico. I'm complimenting the industry.
Yes.
But we have become so.
There's so much whataboutism.
Yeah, we just assume. We assume that I've been around a long time.
I'm saying is, in a loud and clear voice, as a wrestling fan, let's not look over the fact or diminish the fact that over 50,000 people will reach into their wallet and vote with their own hard-earned cash that they want to support this wrestling brand. That I know one of your favorite podcasters may have said was dying or whatever. How many times have 50,000 paying customers come to a wrestling show? It's a big doggone deal. And let's just strip away the word wrestling. How many times have 50,000 paying customers gone to anything? Like, that is such a huge audience. Like, Jeff has heard some of the best musicians that ever came through the state of Tennessee play in bars that held 80. We got 50,000 people here. A lot of people who are coming from other continents and all over the world. Can we just take a minute and put our swords down and just say, damn, this is good for pro wrestling? As you and I are talking right now, there's 48,184 tickets that are out. Allegedly, according to WrestleTix, and I know it's not always spot on, they're set up for 53,832. I know they can open up more. No, they're not going to sell as many as last year. What does any of this matter? We continue to move this goalpost instead of just being happy for people. We've got an incredible card and we should be happy about it. And something I know we're all happy about is that we can still get our ding dongs hard like it was the Attitude Era thanks to Blue Chew. Blue Chew is a unique online service that as soon as you start chewing, you're going to hear the glass break, and then it's time to stomp a mud hole in somebody's ass, walk it dry, and strut and tell Double J, hey, you can look at it all you want to, and it ain't going to get no bigger. You know the deal. Go right now to BlueChew.com. It's a unique online service that delivers you the same active ingredients as Viagra, Cialis, and Levitra, but at a fraction of the cost and in a chewable form. The process is simple. You sign up at BlueChew.com, you consult with one of their licensed medical providers, and once you're approved, you receive your prescription within days. Blue Chew's tablets are made in the USA, prepared and shipped directly to your door, all in a discreet package. And maybe that's the best part. It's all done online. That means you don't have to go to the doctor's office. You don't have to have that uncomfortable conversation where you say, I want to bore a hole through my wife's back. And there's no waiting in line at the pharmacy. You can take them anytime, day or night. So plan ahead or be ready whenever an opportunity arises. Blue Chew wants you to have better sex. So discover your options at BlueChew.com. And here's what I hear. Blue Chew wants the entire country rock hard. That's what they've told me. That's their mission. They will not stop until every man is bricked up like a brick house, until every tent is pitched, until every rod is raised. Discover your options at BlueChew.com. And we've got a special deal for our listeners. Try Blue Chew free when you use our promo code MyWorld at checkout. Just pay $5 shipping. That's BlueChew.com. The promo code is MyWorld to receive your first month free. Visit BlueChew.com for more details and important safety information. And we want to thank Blue Chew for sponsoring today's podcast. Hey, I got a question for you, Jeff.
Standing O.
BS, like before sobriety, Jeff Jarrett.
Oh boy.
Do you remember? I'm talking way back now. We're talking about new generation through the Attitude Era. We're talking old school.
Ooh.
Did you ever hear of the Mile High Club, which is something that guys have heard about? Was that ever a part of wrestling? Do you remember the boys ever talking about that? I've never heard that phrase in the confines of a wrestling conversation.
You know what? The hard-hitting questions. Yes, pardon the pun. Hard-hitting questions coming from Connie. No, you're right. The answer is no. Plane rides. Nope. I can't say that that was a part of. No, I really am. I'm trying to really go into the deep, dark recesses of BS. Jeff, Attitude Era. No. New generation, Attitude Era, certainly TNA days. Nope.
How does it never come up? Isn't that fascinating? Like, we've all heard the derogatory terms that were thrown around for female fans. And, we've all heard all that nastiness, but I'm just saying, like, that's a common term that I think a lot of people are familiar with. And for wrestlers, it feels like, well, that would have been a slow day, but it's like, why is that never even? I'm not campaigning for more plane ride from hell conversations. I'm not saying that, but I'm just saying, like, we never hear that story.
Nope. And you hear of, the private flights have a different content or different playground, if you will, than commercial. And, for me, before I broke in, you heard of all the partying. The 80s and 90s, there was just more partying as opposed to, not that Mile High Club folks aren't partying, but no, that never really entered into conversations. If you want to get kind of right down to it, the execution of it, those bathrooms are awful small, pal.
Yeah, but you know what? You could throw a blanket over your lap. I mean, let's move on. Hey, let's talk about some of the all-in card, because I don't know why that tickles you. Those are facts, Andy. Those are facts. There's a reason after the pandemic they quit giving you those blankets.
Yeah, we tell you a funny little story of talking about size on airplanes. Different segue here. Me and Karen flew on Friday from Nashville to Atlanta, and right as we were landing, getting off the plane in Atlanta, there was a man and a woman working the Delta flight, stewardesses. They said, "Hey," to ask me and Karen, "Are you going to Mexico City?" And we looked, me and Karen, like, "Yeah, we are." And they're like, "Hey, we just noticed on whatever, blah, 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 the connection list," I guess is how they knew it. And they said, "Yeah, we're on that same flight. We're going to Mexico City too tonight." I said, "Well, great, fantastic." And it popped in my brain, Conrad and Karen, she smacked me I
knew exactly where you're going.
Well, I don't know. What do you think I said?
Can we ride that car over there with y'all?
Nope. I didn't say that. No. I said, Conrad, you may or may not, and I said, "Oh my gosh, this is fantastic." I said, "Our son is meeting us here in Atlanta. So I'll introduce you," because they were very nice, and Karen, and it was flight attendants that were super cool and conversational and just really, really nice. And I said, "Fantastic. We're meeting our son here in Atlanta." I said, "He's a little guy, but he's going to be so excited to fly with us. Up first, blah, 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 blah."
I can't wait.
Yeah. And so we got on off. Karen goes, "You just had to do that, didn't you?" I said, "It's all in fun." So sure enough, we get over there. We're boarding the flight. I gave my band the heads up. We go through, got to present your passport. And as we walk down the jetway, Karen's in front. She goes, "No, you go first." I said, "No, honey, you go first, because I want to get a good look at this." And as we walk right on the plane, I make sure I'm right beside him. In the eyes of those two individuals, as Satnam Singh stood beside me, I said, "Here he is, Mom. He wants some money. Oh, Connie, it was fun. They're like, then I said, no, we're kidding. Karen stooged us off, but she didn't let it go on too long. I said, yeah, that's Mom. I'm Dad. Here's our son. But it was all in fun, Conrad.
I legit thought that you were going to try to get you and Cody to drive the cart through the airport.
Oh, God.
Because I know he rides the jet skis with you. And I thought you were going, can we ride this cart? Because I thought you and Cody, but you meant your other son, Satnam Singh.
Yeah, no. Because I knew he was, because he had texted me right as we landed, like, hey, you at the gate yet? I said, no, we're just landing. So just having fun.
Hilarious.
But no, yeah, it was funny. It was harmless rib, but all good. But no, Code Dog, he stayed home, manned the fort. He's winning Madden, winning college football 25.
Wait. Do you know what we've got booked and planned?
Oh boy. Do I ever. And I know one thing, Cody's going to be walking out.
Okay. Well, I think a lot of our folks over at Ad Free Shows, they know all about Top Guy Weekend. It's something that we're all looking forward to. And well, you may recall that, the third Saturday in October every year is when the lowly Tennessee Volunteers pick up another loss at the hands of the Alabama Crimson Tide. But this year, it's going to happen the first weekend in September as a part of Ad Free Show's Top Guy Weekend. That's right. Some breaking news here on the program, folks. Old Double J and his beloved Tennessee Vols are going to get taken to the woodshed at the hands of my Alabama Crimson Tide in video game form.
Yes, sir.
NCAA football is back on PlayStation 5, and we're going to hook it up live on stage at Ad Free Show's Top Guy and weekend in Chicago. It's happening September 7th. And listen, let me just go ahead and tell you, if Cody wants some, he can come get some, because I ain't scared of him or Chris Parks or Joe Burrow. Ain't nobody messing with the Tide. Come on.
Are you throwing down the gauntlet for real here?
I'll just run through all of you. And you know what? We have a rule in Alabama. When I get up 21 points, we call it a house rule and turn it off. I don't see any of you jokers making it to the second half.
I cannot wait.
I'm ready.
Yeah. We're probably going to have to remove Karen from the scene. Maybe not even give her an invite. She'll be there. But Cody starts throwing a few. I can't wait for Cody to cuss you just once.
I can't wait either.
We got to have the cameras rolling.
Here's what we don't want, though. Like, can you leave your other son Satnam at home? Because I don't want to feel like, because he could cover, like, we did this in Chicago. I've got I'm a massive human being with a huge head, and he can cover my entire face with his hand.
Yes, sir.
I don't want to mess with that guy.
He took the shirt off Saturday night, TripleMania. That is a big man. He is a 1 in a billion kind of guy. But is Adam Priest coming? I'm hoping.
I hope for his safety, he's not. I hope for his safety. By the way,
best choke slams through a table
of all time.
It was nice.
I'll tell you, being my friend at times sucks.
Cassio hates it
because we're sitting in the green room last year at StarCast, and as soon as he comes in the room, I said, "Oh, hey, Adam." Hypothetically, and he just drops his bags and says, "Fuck, what do you got me doing now? What is it? What is it?" Oh, and so then when I said, "Can I let an 8-foot man choke slam me through a table?" He was like, "Is that it? Is there anything else that has to happen? Is that the end of the sentence?" I go, "Yeah, that's the end." He goes, "Yeah, I can do that." And do you know that the building, they were so concerned about Adam, they called the ambulance?
Yes.
Like they wheeled a gurney in there. Adam's drinking a beer, and they're like, "You got to lay on this." He's like, "I'm not getting on I'm fine. You got to lay on this. Let's put you in the back brace." We saw what happened. Isn't that great?
Yes. And that was, Connie, I love those kind of moments. You know, I do. you know, I absolutely love it.
Well, I know that you're loving getting on the road
hard way. Oh, that just perked my ears up even more. Jay Lethal.
There's still a stain in that parking lot, by the way.
Yes, there is.
If you happen to find yourself at the Nashville Fairgrounds, you can see it. If you go around back, you can literally see. It's not oil. That's Richard Morgan Fleahair's blood stain.
And there's an emotional scar of David Crockett back there as well.
Several, I would guess. Hey, before we talk about this pretty impressive card that's looming this weekend, for the best wrestling weekend a lot of folks are going to have, I mean, this is something that people have been planning and thinking about and taking days off and booking their air and getting their hotel reservations, their dinner reservations, and here's their pregame and here's what they're doing for their after party. And it's a big doggone deal this weekend in Wembley Stadium. But before we talk about that, we haven't mentioned this a lot here on the show, but over at ringsidecollectibles.com, the Double J action figure is live. And this has got to be one of the cooler action figures I think you've ever had. You've had a lot of cool ones going back to your WWF days and your WCW days and your TNA days. But as far as the actual quality of the figure, this has got to be near the top of the list, right, Jeff?
And you know me, I'm not the by any means a collector of action figures. I am not I am far from an expert, but I do have a circle of friends that I consider experts in the game, Cardona and others, but several. And man, Connie, they just kind of keep raving about all of it. I have more, I'll call it quote unquote buddy request. Hey man, when can I get mine? And this and it's Silva. If you want to chime in on this, because you're an action figure guy, and I hear yours is right around the corner. But no, I'm telling you, Connie, it has got quite the buzz, which is pretty cool. But here's the thing that also kind of go back in the Attitude Era. I guess I had kind of the same outfit, but this red outfit and the red guitar and the tights and the logo now, Connie, shout out to you and others. The logo's defined. I just think everything kind of came together on this figure from a collectible point of view. But yeah, we're excited. I know my man Cody's excited. We got several, and I hear it's selling pretty damn good.
Hey, speaking of selling pretty good, I don't know if you saw overnight, but as we were getting ready to go live here for our live studio audience, as we're recording My World, I logged into Twitter, as I do every now and again.
It's X. It's called X now.
All right, fine. I logged into X, and while I was in X, I could not believe that Oscar De La Hoya was a topic of conversation. Have you seen why people are talking about Oscar De La Hoya today?
Good boy. No, I haven't.
Well, I thought it was about his Club Shay Shay interview. He recently sat down with Shannon Sharp, and I was catching up on some of that. And he's talking about how he's zen and he's moved past a lot of these beefs and blah, blah, blah. And there's a video of him out today. And this might be BS Oscar De La Hoya, because he's got a thong on and he's dancing around.
Okay.
And he's wiggling his jalapeno. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I'm wondering, was there ever a scene like that in Club Jarrett back in the day where you were like, hey guys, what if? I mean, did that ever happen?
No, in Club Jarrett, no. It was just a lot of BS talking. Actually, there was a boatload of wrestler talk, and then we would get into the nonsense talking that you can imagine. And oh God, telling stories. But Club Jarrett, it was brought to my attention. The original iteration of that was really a postmortem on the show, and then to look at the shows we were about to produce the next 2 days. It morphed over time into much more of a party scene, but the original foundation of that thing was to really get some work done. But no, everybody kept their clothes on, Connie.
Well, I want to encourage you, whatever you do, don't go watch that Oscar De La Hoya video. I was a big boxing fan, and I was like, hey, what's going on? Did he die? But was there more context to that interview with Shannon Sharp? Nope. Something else.
Who put the video out?
His girlfriend.
Ex or current?
I don't know all the details. Might be ex now.
Yeah, I was going to say.
He may have got on X and realized he had an ex. I don't know. We'll find out. But All In is right around the corner. And boy, you want to talk about stories. There's a lot of them here. Let's run through some of the card, because, this is a big deal in Jeff Jarrett's life. I mean, it hasn't been announced, but the gauntlet has been thrown down. Tony Khan is a coward if
gosh.
he doesn't book Hangman Adam Page versus Jeff Jarrett. Tom Campbell sang it. Taylor Swift sang it. If old Tay-Tay sang it, it must be true. The final countdown, title versus career. If Bryan Danielson doesn't win the world title, he will retire. Swerve Strickland, Bryan Danielson, the main event. You've been a big part of this. You've gotten yourself involved. When it's all said and done and the confetti's coming down and Excalibur and JR and Tony Schiavone and Taz and whoever else they got doing commentary that night will sign off, who's standing in the ring with the gold high above their head?
I almost don't want to give a prediction because mine's biased. But Conrad, when I think back, and I was going to say, I guess the moment was Calgary when I was at ringside and watching him and Hangman in the finals is kind of what I don't say started all this, but was kind of the in a way the launching point that the card now is signed and I mean the match was made and everything like that. I saw firsthand the pain in Bryan's eyes. When we've talked about it, he's not the biggest, not the tallest, not the strongest and all that, but man, he works through pain. And he recently made the comment about work needing to be done on his body. I just don't see him going out, and I'm not going to say it's a guarantee that he's going out, but it certainly looks that way. But I'm going to vote on Bryan going out a winner. How do you bet? How do you bet against a guy with his track record? And I know in his big matches, maybe since arriving in AEW, have not had the best one-loss record. But when you take a step back and the different things that going into my single with him, I did some tape study, a true story. And when I kind of look back on the progression of Bryan, and that's the great thing about YouTube. Hey, young guys out there, you can watch a guy's career if you want at least some high markers. Bryan always rises to the occasion. I'm not sure Swerve understands that. I really don't. I don't think Swerve understands that. He certainly he's been in big high profile matches. He's never been on the stage of Wembley to defend it. And Bryan has been in the biggest stages. I don't see him going out a loser.
We've also got Jack Perry and Darby Allin in a pretty heated match for the TNT Championship. The AEW American Championship, as MJF calls it, will be at stake when he's defending against Will Ospreay. Got to think he's going to be the hometown hero that night. Mercedes Moné is finally going to hook it up with Dr. Britt Baker. That's got the internet abuzz. And perhaps one of the better stories we've seen in AEW. Tony Storm and Mariah May. Which one of these stands out to you the most as a fan that you're pumped to see, Jeff?
Last year, and I've said this multiple times, I think Will's athleticism, it just sets him apart in so many ways. Him facing MJF, I'll call him not only the most controversial AEW talent, but he's becoming a big money match kind of guy. But Will, with his Japan lineage, winning the big ones there. And again, I think last year the Jericho Ospreay match, there was just around the entire show so much pomp and circumstance. I think people don't even recall just how good Will was last year. This year, going in against MJF, yes, it's his home turf. He's been in the promotion now full time. 6-8 months. So his cadence, his rhythm, not that he was an outsider last year, but a little bit. But I believe this match, Bryan has a ton of emotion going into his match. The MJF match and Ospreay, I believe those two guys are going to leave nothing on the table. And I think we're going to see a new level of athleticism. And when Will is kind of charged with that kind of mentality, I think it is. I think that's almost a match that you want to say, I want to watch that live. I don't want to watch the replay. I don't want to just watch the highlights. I want to get involved. I think that's a can't miss match. That's one. And then the Mariah May, Tony Storm, this is a homecoming for Mariah May. So there's a lot of emotion that goes into this. But what a culmination of timeless Tony Storm. And I think back to a year ago where that whole stable character where is, and then over the last 12 months, I think that has the chance to become a legendary kind of
story and angle, and
like the flag in the ground.
Mm-hmm.
And this is the payoff. We'll see. But Mariah May, a homecoming of sorts, I think that adds a whole nother element to it.
Jeff's excited about the show. I'm excited about the show. You don't want to miss Jeff Jarrett hitting the Hangman Adam Page with a guitar, hitting the stroke right in the middle. That's going to happen. It's going to happen this Sunday. Join us. And don't forget, it's UK time. So it's starting early. I think the 0 hour is like 11 o'clock my time. Maybe noon is where it is in your neck of the woods. You can catch it anywhere you enjoy pay-per-view. I, for one, am going to try to pick it up on Triller. That's what I always do. But I think YouTube and DAZN and cable and satellite and Dave and Buster's and Bleacher Report, it's everywhere. And it is a huge show that I can't wait for us to talk about next week. And yes, next week we will be talking about the announcement that All In next year is in Texas. But I figure we'll talk about what's at hand, and then we'll talk about what's next week. And in the coming weeks, we're going to explore Motor City Machine Guns. We'll pick up our conversation about Kevin Nash. And we want you to be a part of the conversation. It's easy to join us on our YouTube. That's myworldpod.com. That's your home for all things Jeff Jarrett. Hit the subscribe button, turn on the notifications bell so you know when we're live. You don't want to miss a minute of it at myworldpod.com. And we'll see you guys next week on the other side of Wembley.
Oh, yeah.
Can't believe it's here. Safe travels to the king and queen. We'll see you guys next week right here on My World.
Peace.
SaveWithConrad.com.
Mark Taggart from Rantoul, Illinois. My wife started the process with one of the big major corporations, and things were going very badly. And finally, I just stopped and said, hey, listen, I've been listening to the ads for years. Let's go with Save with Conrad and see what we can have happen. We were trying to free up a little space so we could spend down some debt and do some home improvements. We saved quite a bit, and in the long run, we're going to do a lot better with Save with Conrad than we would have anywhere else. It was absolutely beautiful. Like Larry and Francis were they were the greatest. Not only were they professional, knew what they were talking about, they were friendly, and they cared about the job they were doing, which was so important to me. I would absolutely recommend Save with Conrad to anybody. Hi, this is Mark Taggart from Rantoul, Illinois, and I wanted to do some home improvements and spend down a little debt, and I got hold of Save with Conrad, and we did incredibly.
NMLS number 2129, Equal Housing Lender.
SaveWithConrad.com.